on StreamYard or do you watch on YouTube?
I'm on StreamYard
Yeah,
because
so
I've
am
got to
I.
start it. Are you on YouTube?
No.
Well, we're live, so we should probably see if anybody's joining us because we got to watch the comments, right? Oh, somebody's
See, I
here.
can't
I don't know
comment here. I
who
can
it is.
only comment over on YouTube.
Oh, yeah? Oh, we got a couple people. Hello. Let me get on YouTube and watch it. It shows one person. I almost forgot to make us go live. Erin and I were just chit-chatting along. We've been chit-chatting, and we almost didn't go live when we were supposed to.
Hey, Lori.
There we go. Shannon may be late. Oh, I have to show. Let me do this really quick. Shannon may be late. Oh, I have to show. There is the gnome, Lori, with the sun. And there's Stacy. Hello, Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
We are just going to give people a couple more minutes. And then Erin asked me to do a live a while ago, and I said, sure, we have no agenda today whatsoever. Really, it is just get on here, chit chat, talk to you guys, get caught up. And so that is where we're at. And normally, you guys, I'm normally a big planner. So this is killing me inside, just so you know.
Throwing caution to the wind.
Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for joining us. Cynthia has two channels, Erin, the Biggs Prep, and she also has a homestead channel. And she has taken off like a rock star, just zooming on up in subscribers and videos.
Awesome. Hey, Jojo. Hey, Chantel. I love Jojo because my son watches anime, so I was telling Jojo every time I see her name, I always think of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, which is an anime show. And she's like, never heard of it before because hers is just, it's just, I believe her DF journey is for debt-free journey, but I just always
Right.
think of, that particular anime every time I see it.
So
I
how
can talk like this, so it's just my hands.
No.
That looks really weird. I have no arms because I'm wearing black.
This is the second time we've seen your face on camera, right? Well, besides a few of us, but I mean on YouTube. Third time.
Well, this is our third time. This is our third live. Yeah.
Third time.
Yeah, on YouTube, yeah.
She said, don't you dare. There's Lay.
You're not the boss of me.
And JoJo says she still hasn't checked out the anime.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. So.
And the Yorkies are outside making all of a ruckus because, it's 6 p.m. here, so they're out there living their best life, barking at birds and deer and heaven knows what else.
See, mine are taking their post-breakfast nap. They have found the sunny spot and they are happily laying down in the sun.
See?
And warming up.
That's a dog's life, as long as you have amazing owners, is just the best thing ever.
I just wish they'd clean up after themselves.
Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? If you guys have any questions at any time for either Erin or I, go ahead and ask. This is a free-flowing conversation today. I did not advertise the live like I should have because life was a little crazy. For anybody that is a subscriber of mine, you may have seen my live being stuck in Dallas. And so the trip was amazing. The travel and the journeys and stuff, a little bit crazy too. And I think I may have, that dreaded C word that we can't say, but not a positive test. So Maybe I just have a cough. A couple people ended up, but most of our group did not. There was 18 of us. And I think 2 or 3 had a positive test. So who knows? And then we've got, all right, missed that live. Oh, you were sleeping during the last live. And thank you, Cynthia, for reminding people to push the like button. And budget with Crazy in Love. I don't know your name. Erin, do you know her name or his name?
I do not. No, not off the top of my head.
If you want to share, let us know so that we know your name. Weather changes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
missed that
Yep.
live too. I was asleep.
How dare you be asleep?
I know. It must have been about like 3 o'clock in the morning here. Why was I not awake yet?
If
My
I
my
would have
Marlene went live alarm just didn't go off.
if I would have went live when we were stuck, you definitely would have been awake because it was midnight, when we were in the airport. We finally got deplaned and through customs by about midnight, even though we were supposed to be there at 4. We were supposed to land in
That
Dallas at 4. Yeah.
so you were on the plane for how long?
Over 10 hours. We flew, it was supposed to be a 2.5-hour flight. And we flew to Dallas. Then we were in a circle pattern, you know how they do that because they couldn't land because of the storms. We did several circles, and then they said we didn't have enough fuel to continuing circling. So then we went to Houston to fuel up, and as soon as we landed in Houston, the storm hit. And so we were in the middle of the tarmac. We weren't even at a gate, and we sat there for 3 hours until they opened up to be able to fuel us.
Well,
So
if
it
it
was
makes you feel
fun.
better, if it makes you feel
Yeah.
better, you'll be on a plane for longer than that when you fly to Australia.
Oh, I've been on a plane longer than that because of
Oh, you've
flying
got
to
Europe.
Europe and all that stuff. But hey, then I'm expecting to be on the plane for that long. And you have people that are ready to be on a plane that long. Luckily, we had some children right in front of us. We had 3 little boys and their mom right in front of us. And there was a baby like 2 rows back. The children did amazing. Like, I think the children did better than some of the adults on the plane. That, some people just start freaking out. And it's like, there's nothing they can do. It's weather, there's lightning. They're not going to let anybody be out on the ground working on anything when there's lightning. We're not going to be able to take off.
Well, I mean, that's, just a small, maybe a small occupational hazard there that, yeah. I'm just wondering though, because you technically hadn't gotten off the plane, you hadn't gone through customs. So technically you were still international. Does that mean you got to have free drinks the whole time?
Yeah, right.
Because drinks on
They
international flights are always free.
they gave us water. After 2 hours, they brought around water and cookies because that's pretty much all they had. So, but luckily I'm a normal traveler that travels all the time, so I had almonds and I mean, we didn't starve. And we ended up on, I don't know plane sizes or anything, but we ended up on a larger plane, so there was more room. And when they moved us to that plane, we ended up in the area that has a little bit bigger seats, and we were towards the front. And my husband and his friend were in one of the rows that is the emergency, so they had a lot of room. And those guys, my husband's 6'2", I think his friend is 6'6", and he's a big guy, so it was nice so they could actually stand up. So that was kind
Hmm.
of nice. But yeah, I mean, it happens. And there's Victoria, back to school eve. Wow, I can't believe people start school so early.
Isn't it? It's only August.
Yep.
I thought schools didn't start until after Labor Day.
That's how it was when I went to school, but it seems like it's starting earlier and earlier. Peyton starts like at the very end of August. I can't remember, like the 30th or the 31st, something like that. Then he goes to school for 3 days and then has a 3-day weekend because that's Labor Day after that. But
So then
and
do they finish sooner or have they started putting in, like, longer breaks
that's a great
in
question.
between?
Depends on the school, the areas of the school too. Like where Julia lives, not that she's in the school district there anymore. They went to 4-day school weeks. So they're only going to school Monday through Thursday. They now have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And Peyton gets off. He has early outs on Friday, so he gets out at 1. And so yeah, the
See,
late May.
that's
See,
what
We started in September and got out in late May. So I don't know.
See, because here, at least in Queensland, so in all of the states, all of so they'll start at different times in different states, but all of the schools in Queensland all start at the same time, and they all have holidays at the same time, and they all go back at the same time. They all graduate at the same time. They all have their exams at the same time. Every single school, regardless of if it's a state school or if it's a private school, they're all on the exact same schedule. We had a bit wonkiness this year because in Southeast Queensland, we had to start a week late because of the floods. Nobody could go anywhere because, well, we were flooded.
Right.
But it's the same if you go to New South Wales, they all the way across. They all start at the same time. I think they actually start maybe a week later and such. Yeah, so it's weird that there's that much, like, remembering that there's that much difference and that much variability in schools, like, even within the same county or the same state in the US. It's still really weird.
It's definitely crazy. And I saw that Lori had said something about some schools start earlier for snow days. Just so you know, our school district in Wyoming, we don't have snow days. And we get a lot of snow and we don't have snow days. So if they miss for snow days, they tack it on to the end of the year. So they do not
That's
have
what they
any
did in North
snow
Dakota.
days. Yep. They don't
That's what
have
they did
any
in North
scheduled.
Dakota.
Yep. And so
Is
no
the
snow days for
expectation.
us. And then Chantel has a question. Oh,
Herpy derpy
nice.
schnurpy schnurp. Work, 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 work.
she's like, I got that. Got it, got it. There we go. All
Um,
right. So Chantel had a question, Erin, and I'll answer it too. But what do you want to do once you retire?
I'm a tenured academic. We don't retire. Don't you have kids that have gone to university? I'm gonna be that. Like, seriously, I was actually talking about this with Marcus over at Debt Free Dad. Um, the average retirement age for academics is in, at least in Australia, is in the early 80s. And then from there, you usually become an emeritus, and so they still pay you to do research and such like that. But like Gary, he'll retire and he'll be the one that retires early, and he's just going to travel around and go fishing. That's what he will do. So yeah, mostly travel. That's really, my ideal little retirement type setup: camper van, my husband, my dogs, my surfboards. Let's go.
There you go.
Oh, and one of my Jeeps, because I need that to go off-roading.
Yes.
So that's
And
that's
for
that's all that.
me, yeah, no, for me, I'm gonna retire after 20 years in law enforcement. If I make it that long, just being honest, truly. Right now, you know what I mean? I am vested. I do, I could retire right now. And with the way that Wyoming state retirement works for law enforcement is once you hit your 20, regardless of your age, you can actually start pulling your full retirement. And so it doesn't
Mm.
matter if you're at retirement age or not. But so, over 10 years now, so over halfway there. And for me, um, I've been talking to Bridger about that a lot, like trying to figure out what do I want to be when I grow up, right? When I retire and get out of this career, what do I want to do? Because if you guys can't tell, I'm much too busy to actually just retire. Now, I want to travel, but I have to have enough money to travel. So, I'm going to have to find another career probably, or something, right? Some side hustle, be a social influencer. Ah,
So do you want to do world travel, or like
traveling everywhere.
particularly like North America, South America? Because like I actually just want to get into all of the different parts of Australia, get into New Zealand. I think for big travel, like to Europe and such, I don't want to do that when I'm retired. I want to do that now while I can enjoy it, while I can like do the hikes and such like that. But then And if I could ever get to Antarctica, that's like my big goal. I wanna go, and even though I'm not supposed to, I wanna go and have a shot of tequila in my dad's bar, and I wanna have a flight over the geographical region that they named for him. Like, that would be, like, super duper, like, big picture. If I have grandchildren, spoil the snot out of them, and, take them places and such as well. But I wanna take it easy. I just wanna be on the beach and surf every freaking day and hang out with my dogs and my husband, if he survives that long, for it. I just want it I want it so simple, and kind of minimal, which is crazy because it'll probably be crazy expensive to do just like to twibble around like that and such. But yeah, just not caring, not having an alarm clock. You wake up when the sun rises, you go to bed shortly after, like when camping. That's
Right. I watch a
Yeah.
couple YouTube channels of people that's what they do. They have, little motor homes or whatever, and that's how they live their life. And they're still currently working, and so they just make sure that they, can put their stuff through on the internet. And so ideally, I would like to be able to find some sort of career that I could work wherever we are. I think that is a big thing, and bring in a little bit of money. So, it doesn't need to be a large amount, but just a little bit, to make sure that you got some money to do things. And yeah, no, I'm going to do a lot of traveling before I retire as well, as long as I keep saving, right? We've got Australia, and now my niece has told us that we need to come see her in Hawaii, because we just vacationed with hers, and she's like, "Come stay with me, and you can scuba dive." And I'm like, because I've been to Hawaii, but Bridger never has been to Hawaii, and I've got to say hello to Shannon because she came in a while ago. Hello, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon. Oh, there she is. See, she's got kids' first day of school tomorrow as well. I don't You know what? I no longer miss the first day of school part. Like,
Right?
the first 2 years when Peyton after Peyton graduated, those were really, really tough. Because I was so used to having to go, not so much at school shopping because I have school uniforms here, but you still have to pick up, like, their school supplies and such like that. In the first 2 years, I was like, "Oh, this feels so weird." And by year number 3, I was just like, traffic is gonna suck tomorrow." That's what I think about now when I think of first day of school, because we're right across from a private school, and so they take up all of our cul-de-sac, and trying to get in and out, the traffic is just horrendous, and that's the part. Now I'm that grumpy person. Before I was, like, the grumpy mom in the drop-off line, I hate having to sit in this, and now I'm like, "Will you quit blocking my driveway so I can get out and do the things that I need to do?" Geez, make your kids walk. Um, it's weird how after 18 years, or 15, 16, 12 years of them going to school, and then all of a sudden
Right.
you're just like, "Oh, I don't have to do anything anymore." And then it just yeah, it goes a little bit, more and more distance.
Well, yeah, and Peyton, so he's going to be a senior this year, and he'll probably graduate early. But he's not a big like let's go school shopping type thing. So he'll order a couple things for himself online, and then, I mean, in high school, you know what I mean. They might need some paper and pencils, but that's pretty much it. It seems like most of the time they don't even need a lot of that because there's so much done on the computers. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
all these
everything.
classes.
Everything for Peyton was by the time he hit so years, we don't have like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year here. It's you have primary school, you have secondary school. Primary school goes through 6th grade, or well, now 5th grade, and then secondary, so high school is like 6th grade all the way through year 12. And so years 11 and 12, those are considered your senior years, because in year 10, you actually make a decision of which pathway do you want to go. Do you want to go the pathway that you're going to take courses to prepare you to go to university? Or are you going to go the pathway to take courses that are going to prepare you to go into a trade? And so those that are going into a trade, so trades are still very much respected here in Australia. You're not looked down on if you're a plumber or an electrician or a tradie or a chippy or anything like that. So So if they make that decision, they go that way, then their year 12, their senior, their last year, if they're going the trade route, they actually start their first apprenticeship. So when they come out, they have their first year of apprenticeship done. And then when they go to TAFE, which is the trade, the trade colleges, then they usually only have another year of courses to do and an apprenticeship, and then they're immediately straight, and that feeds them immediately into the workforce. Whereas the university route is going and preparing them for their courses that they need to take for university, for the entrance exams that they have to take, and then for being successful when they get to university for their 3 years of study there. So it's and then a lot of them take a gap year as well, take a year off, go to Europe, backpack around Europe and such. Sometimes they go to the US or Canada, but yeah, and our student loan funding, our HEX funding, so our higher education funding scheme covers both university and TAFE. So
See,
they don't
I
have
tell you what,
they don't have any out of pocket
Australia's got
on
it going
either.
on. Australia seems like, you know what I mean? Because here you have so many kids that are told go to college, go to college, go to college. It's like that's pretty much the plan. You either go to college or you don't. And there's a lot of kids and people that don't want to go to school and that's not what they want to do with their lives. And I do see more trade schools coming, you know what I mean, here, but it's nice that in high school that they can take the route that they want to. I know neither of my kids have been able to do that. And so that is interesting. I love hearing the differences between Australia and America. And I know that's one thing that you and I talk about a lot, Erin, is the
Mm.
differences between the two countries. And one of the reasons why it's so hard to become a citizen in Australia
Yeah.
because they're keeping the riffraff out and they only want people that are going to help make their country better.
Well, I don't think it's so much about like keeping riffraff out, but it it is that um everybody is making a contribution, and I think that's because we're more of that we're more of a social democracy,
Right.
really, as well, in terms of healthcare, in terms of social, welfare and social support programs and such like that. So it's but also with the whole thing around education is also why you don't hear about the student loan crisis and the crushing student loan debt here that you hear about in the US as well, because your HEX loans are paid directly to the university from the government. So the government sets the prices of what university degrees are going to be. So that's first and foremost. The schools do not get to say, we are going to charge this much. The university says, this is how much this degree is going to cost. This is how much is going to be charged. This is how much you will get. And so they know exactly how much a student is going to need to borrow. That is paid directly to the university. So there's no over borrowing for paying for rent or paying for a car because it's going to be a lower interest rate than what a car loan would be. And then Centerlink is kind of like our main support system. They provide additional funding to students so that they can live as well. And that's not a loan. So in the US, people would call that a welfare program. In Australia, it's funded by taxpayers. And for the most part, we're all okay with that. That allows them to actually focus on being a student, and then they can work some part-time as well, but they're not having to do that balance of like really making decisions between the two. They know that they're going to be able to eat something other than ramen noodles for the next 3 years. This is also why a lot of students don't travel for university. So kids in Queensland go to Queensland universities. Those in New South Wales go to New South Wales universities. Rarely do you get somebody coming from Western Australia over to Queensland. So dorms are not a big thing. We don't have fraternities. We do not have like team sports. So like Friday night football games or Saturday football games and such. None of that. Really, there's some extracurricular type stuff, and then when they graduate, there's a threshold. So it's not until they make a certain amount of money in their in work, and then once they hit that point, they automatically start getting garnished. They don't pay interest, but it is charged at the rate of inflation. Bad year for graduating students right now. And it's automatically garnished by their employer. So when it comes time when they file their taxes, so if you watch anybody in Australia that's doing their budgeting and they're talking about what their HEX loan is, Taylor is a really good one to watch because she's still paying off her student loans. I'm not sure that Caroline is, or if she talks about hers too much. And so you'll hear Taylor talk about when she does her taxes, how much was withheld to pay back to her HEX. So that has all been withheld from her check up to this point. If it was over withheld, she gets money back. If it was under withheld, then they have to pay some money towards it. So it keeps everything kind of, I think, balanced. Whereas I remember when I graduated, I've been pretty open about my student loan debt. I had over $130,000 by the time I finished my PhD. You add in my husband's student loans, we had over $150,000. But when I finished, the day I finished my PhD was the day that my student loans came due. There was no, which is why we were paying them the whole time, even while even once we moved here. And I was lucky because Australia, when we moved here, Australia had a stronger dollar than the US, so I was actually paying, like, an extra 20% on them. If I still had my student loans now with the way that the difference in the dollar is, I would be screwed, like, honestly, because those payments were easily $1,200 a month, US, which right now would come to about $1,700 Australian. To pay back, and there's no running. You can't run away from your student loans. I've had people go, "Oh, yeah, but you moved to another country, so therefore," I'm like, "Oh, no. Student loans, government, IRS, they follow you wherever you go." And as a US citizen, they can block my passport. If they really wanted to, they would be able to come and drag me back, kicking and screaming and such like that. So it's interesting challenges that I think a lot of times are not thought about in terms of money and finance if you move to another country, because like the retirement question, a lot of people talk about how, oh, I want to go and I want to be in another country, I want to retire in another country, which is great, but you do also still have to pay taxes back to the US as a US citizen because that's a US law. It's not an Australian law, double taxation. It's a US law. So you can go to places that are more friendly, in terms of what their taxes are in their country. Australia is not friendly in terms of taxes in their country. They're on par with what you pay in the US, but that's something that has to be taken into consideration as well. I think when thinking about, retirement, want to have a beach house in the Bahamas or an igloo in Greenland. I don't know that the all of that is looked at in terms of income, and any income that you earn that has to be accounted for. That limits, I think, also some of what we want to do in retirement as well. Paying taxes in 2 countries is bad enough. I don't want to pay them in 3 or 4.
And in order to get away from double taxation, you would have to give up your US citizenship. Is that right? Okay.
Yep,
All right. I have to
and
say
that's
hi to
not.
Huga really quick. Huga just came in. I'm like, hello.
Ah, I can
Yeah.
hear. See, I'm reading Shannon going, "Hooga," and I can hear her saying, I can hear her voice,
Well,
with
and I
that.
think, like you said, a lot of us, like, it sounds great, right? To buy a home and retire in another country. And being from the US, you don't think about that you are going to have to pay taxes. Oh, there's my daughter. I got to decline her phone. See how she is? She should be watching the live as they're trying to call me. But you just don't think about stuff like that, um, because a lot of us aren't educated on how that stuff works, and the US and taxes in other country and taxes and stuff. Now, how I know we were talking about inflation, and of course this is kind of still budget related, but whatever. I know I've been asking like fuel prices and stuff, and I know in the US, the fuel prices have been going down. And from what I saw in your one video, it sounds like your guys' prices are going down. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just filled my entire tank. What had been costing me about 140 to you've seen the pictures of my fuel. Um,
Yeah.
Last week I paid 107
Okay.
to fill my
I thought
entire
I
to fill my
I
tank.
thought I
And then
had
it's
seen
and
that.
it's dropped since. So I think we're down to a dollar 53 um per liter, but our prices are going to go back up in September because our government, when prices started going up because of demand and war in Ukraine and such, they cut the fuel excise tax in half, and that expires in September. And the new government has already said that they're not going to extend that. And so September is right as we hit spring and head into summer. So right now we are in winter, and so not as much travel and such that is going on, but it's going to go back up. Where we've been hit harder, at least in Queensland, has been in the at the grocery at the markets, for the grocery shop. But a combination of inflation, but we also had the floods were just they were I mean, the floods wiped out agriculture. I mean, I sent you pictures. A head of iceberg lettuce cost over $11, and fast food places, like, literally could not even get it. And so we had a big scandal because KFC changed from using lettuce on their burgers, on their chicken burgers, to using cabbage, and people, just lost it because you couldn't get lettuce, you couldn't get celery. You even, like, right now, eggs, like getting eggs, or just a lot of your fresh fruit and veg, which I rely on, almost exclusively. I've said I love watching, like, pantry videos because I don't have one. I mean, I have spices and I have chickpeas, and that's that's really about it because because I can't eat a lot of the different foods because of the preservatives and the sodium and such like that. So that's been a really big hit for us. And the same with, like, we've always sourced our meats locally as well. So, Gary, his Valentine's Day gift, he gets half a beast. It fills up the freezer. If he could, this year he's going out hunting for red deer. So if he's able to knock down one of those, then he'll be extremely happy because he'll have venison again, ugh, which I don't touch. But yeah, that's been our challenge. The amount of rain that we had this year. So it's a positive in that it took a lot of places out of drought. It's a negative in that, it wiped, yeah, it wiped everything out, in the process. We have not had, like you guys have had, with the sizeflation, so with sizes changing,
Right.
but the prices staying the same. So we haven't had much of that here, but yeah, it's mostly, anything that's like your staples, really. So I think if, looking at eggs, milk, cheese, dairy products, such like that. But even though watching some of yours, like, our prices are not too different in a lot of our produce, even though we're in different seasons as well, which I find really strange because I would expect for your summer produce to be at much lower prices than what is traditionally considered summer produce here, but they're actually pretty pretty similar. And then our prices will really go down in summer, but I think it's because there's just so much of it that is locally grown. But I mean, I'm sure
Well,
most people in the comments have probably had seen their budgets get blown out in terms of like groceries and fuel.
oh
The
yes,
two
no,
things stand out.
definitely. It's definitely increased. And I'm still waiting, Erin, on a grocery haul video from you.
I did put up pictures. I didn't do a grocery haul, but I did put up a series of pictures. You were gone, so you probably didn't see it, but I did it on my Instagram, and it was just of some of, like, some of my different food prep and such, and some of the comments that people sent me were they were like, "You don't actually eat like that." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, no, I that is actually how I eat," because I was prepping up, like, I was doing, I was doing up my mushrooms and then just a basic cabbage slaw, spinach, because 'cause I'm always eating spinach, and
Right?
what else did I had? I had grilled, grilled bell peppers, and I do a lot of it's not quite pickling, but I do use a lot of, like, vinegar and sake and coconut aminos because I can't do soy sauce, so it's very Asian, like, very Japanese influence. I have a lot of my food is influenced by Japanese food. I like colorful food, like different types of food and such. And yeah, just some of the comments that I got from people were just they
Well,
were like, there's no way people eat like that." And I'm like,
I'm
no,
gonna have to go check that out because I'm interested to see what you eat. Because I just filmed
you're gonna
a
be here.
video
You'll see.
today and it has cereal in it. I know that shocks you. Speaking of preservatives.
Yeah, there's no cereal in my house. I will admit though, I do have a bag of Cheetos. This is
I'm
this is
pretty sure that those you're not supposed to eat those. But hey, you gotta have a little bit here and there.
I'm supposed to eat them in moderation now. I may or may not have gotten this bag yesterday.
Oh, goodness sakes. Yeah,
Especially
no,
'cause it
well, the
so
grocery haul, if you watch my, I know you watch, but if the people that are on here, if you watch my other channel besides my budgeting channel, it'll be on Tuesday, and it's full of all kinds of junk food and preservatives, and a lot of the prices on the produce have went up quite a bit. I wanted to get some nectarines and some plums, and they were $3.99 a pound. And for me, I was like, meh, meh. So I chose not to get them this time, and I'll see maybe next week. You know what I mean? See if they go down a little bit, and that's just how it is. Especially since I only have one grocery store, that's just how it is.
yeah.
And
No,
Lori wants to know if you tried the white cheddar ones. I love the white
oh,
cheddar, the naturals.
we don't have those here.
Ah, they probably have
These are the
something in
only
them
ones.
that's really bad.
Yeah. Well, that's what I say. I mean, it's you can see, like, this is like that's the
Yeah,
entire ingredient list. That's a heck of a lot smaller than your ingredient list. I would almost guarantee if you had a bag of cheesy poofs
I
that,
don't. Dang
um,
it.
it's so yeah, ours are, registered trademark. Did you know Chester Cheetah's favorite color is orange? And his favorite activity is surfing while eating Cheetos. See, Chester Cheetah is my soulmate. He
That's
is my
right.
spirit animal.
All right. So
I know.
I kind of
They're low in fiber, but they're delicious.
I kind of teased about a story that I had to share with everybody
Yes,
about
dinosaur time.
the trip. I had to save it. So I told you guys that when we're sitting on the plane, everybody was being pretty good, the ones that were around us and stuff. I mean, because there's nothing you can do. Mother Nature, has decided that a huge storm is going to hit. There's nothing you can do. So you just make the best of it. And so we finally land in Dallas and we're getting off of the plane. And we had seen a couple service animals go into the plane in first class. Well, remember, they've been on the plane the entire time with us, and there's nowhere for them to go. So we're walking up, and these younger girls, this girl is just carrying on about how, just so super negative, like how the pilot doesn't know how to fly in the rain, and, just carrying on about how she wants to punch the pilot in the face. I mean, just carrying on until finally I just can't stop myself from saying something and saying the pilot can't land unless the ground says he can land. He can't do whatever he wants, and so I kind of said that, and then she just kind of brushed me off and all of that type of stuff. And then about 5 feet later, after she continued ranting, one of the service dogs couldn't hold it anymore, right? And so there was a pile of dog poop, which I saw, but because she was carrying on and ranting and raving, she did not see it and stepped in it and drug her suitcase through it. So I, of course, being the nice person, because she didn't see it, I said, just so you know, you just stepped in dog poop, took your suitcase through it. And I tried to not laugh right then. And I tell you what, I said that was instant karma for her negativity. You know what I mean? And just, I mean, it was, I laughed, we
Oh,
laughed our butts off about it after. So that was my story I didn't talk about. So yeah,
oh
instant
my
right there. And we laughed so hard. We're just laughing and going because she was just being, like not just complaining, but she was like taking it to another level where Bridger's like, I was waiting to see how long you were going to wait to say something. And then, yes, after, after that type of stuff. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And Lori, this is after we're off of the plane. So we just happened to deplane after her. I don't remember sitting around her. She didn't look familiar to me, but of course, that plane had, I don't know how many people on it, a lot. And so this is just as we've gotten through, we're headed towards customs. And if you've ever flown international before, you've got long hallways that you go generally in a lot of airports before you get to customs. And so that's where it was. But yep, karma got her good. And so we all were laughing the entire time because it's like, stay positive. Obviously, it's not the pilot's fault. It's thundering and lightning, and he can't land in the middle of, an airport that's not ready for him. When the ground is shut down, the ground is shut down. So there you go, Shannon. If you put shit out, it gives it right back to you. That's right. So, oh my gosh, we're gonna be laughing about that story forever because with
oh my
the
gosh.
people I traveled with even before we went, because I've traveled with people that are not fun to travel with and they complain about everything. And so before
You've
we
traveled
went,
with my mother?
yeah, probably. And
I
so
hope not.
before we went on this trip, I told the group that we were with, our core group that we were traveling with, we're on vacation. As soon as we get to the airport, or as soon as we load into the car, we're on vacation. If things go wrong, we don't complain about it. We don't bitch about it. We try to stay positive, do the best that we can. So I'd already told everybody, and of course my husband, he's amazing and it's never complains really about stuff. And so I had already told him, you know what I mean, for that type of stuff. And then when all of the stuff started happening at the end where we couldn't land, and then we landed, and then the storm hit, and then we saw the line of hundreds, if not 1,000 people to try to get our flights rebooked. Everybody was pretty good. Nobody was negative. And so I sure as hell wasn't going to sit there and listen to this young little thing just carry on and on and on and badmouth the pilot that had kept us safe, that landed us in a storm, you know what I mean, that got us where we needed to. And it was like, but yeah, I don't know if she learned or not, but we all thought it was very funny.
But see though, but that is one of those. That's one of those legitimate type things of of karma. Really, because
Yes.
we were 'cause that's one of the other things that we were talking about before you left is just like negative people are
Yes.
excuse me, Karen, you have poo on you.
Oh, you
And
guys,
how did you not get your camera out during any of this?
I know. I know.
Worst,
That
worst
have not
YouTuber,
been the best
worst
video
YouTuber
ever.
ever.
Oh, worst
Yeah.
YouTuber ever, you guys. I just, I was staying positive, but I don't think I was positive enough to do YouTube. But I definitely should
Well,
have, and I
I think
sucked at YouTubing. So there's Chris. Hi, Chris. You just missed the poo story,
Chris,
so you're gonna have
but
to
I
you're gonna
think
have to rewind.
we're just talking about a person who was being snippy on a plane that couldn't land because of weather, and she didn't notice a pile of poo. And Marlene was kind enough to not tell her about the pile of poo until after she stepped in it.
Hey, she would have shut her
Too
trap
long,
and stopped
too long didn't
whining.
watch. There's the recap. But I mean, there's stuff like that because we were talking about this before you left with like people who are being mean and people who are being negative, and kind of like that difference between like what is actually like being just like snark, and what is, what is being, um, just like a constructive criticism. Like a constructive
Yes.
criticism in that situation would not be, demeaning the pilot or anything. It could be, constructive criticism would be like, it would be great if there was more communication letting us know exactly, what the situation is going on that's preventing us from landing, right? Because then
Right.
like you're offering a solution of some sort. I mean, pilots are right up there with people that you don't piss off. You do
Right?
not piss off your nurse. She's got
No.
needles.
Yes.
So you don't piss off the nurse. The doctor, you only see them for like 30 seconds at most. But you're always nice to your nurse. You're always nice to your flight attendants. You're always nice to your secretaries. Full stop. You just because they really do, you know, a little boy peed on my floor at work the other day, and mom just oh,
Oh.
so not an accident. Yeah. So that's yeah, and that's a bit, and so that like those are, those are different, like those are different things. I think with some you just kind of go, okay, yeah, I can take that on board. And the other one is like, okay, no, you're actually earning the title because we're so quick to throw out like the title Karen anymore. We're so quick to label somebody a hater anymore that it's like there's a difference between being rude and just providing, a comment or providing a level of criticism as well. And how do you navigate that? How do you kind of like determine which is which? And it's a challenge. And when do you say something? When do you not say something? When do you allow karma to just kind of take, when do you let karma take the reins? How do you make decisions on that? Because I think we all kind of face different things. Especially
Definitely.
like
And
being in a social domain.
right. And you talk about like we're talking like YouTube, we're talking comments and stuff like that. And you and I had discussed a little bit like one thing that I get is that I talk too fast, right? And I don't think that's a personal criticism. It is definitely I talk fast. I know I talk fast. And it's something that I can try to work on and I can try to slow it down or if I'm doing something besides budgeting and I'm filming something and it's like you're moving too fast, it makes me sick when you move that fast or something like that versus somebody just coming after you for a personal thing that maybe their beliefs you joke around about something because I'm sure there's somebody that's not going to find my poo story not funny. All right. Because they're going to be like that, how dare you, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So I might get some hate for that, but I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Because I made my choice. I thought she was going to see it. I really did. But she was carrying on and ranting and raving so much that she didn't see it. So it was like instant karma right there with the poop. And I've been very fortunate as far as criticisms, as far as YouTube and stuff. And I can tell you this though, in my personal life and work life and everything, I am one of those personalities that is often misunderstood because of the way that I present something or the way I say it. People often think that I'm angry or something like that when I'm just stating the facts. And so for me, I've really had to take a step back for that type of stuff and really stop and think about how I presented it. And, did I present it wrong? A lot of times I'll even ask Bridger, like if I had a conversation with somebody and he was there, I'm like, was that rude? You know what I mean? Because I don't feel like it was rude. I feel like it was just me and my personality. And, sometimes he'll be like, that was kind of rude. You know what I mean? And it's like, so you take that and you try to go from there. And like, if I ever give criticism, like for me, for YouTube, I never personally attack somebody. If I see something on YouTube or Instagram or wherever that I don't like, I just shut it off. Right? If I
Hmm.
don't want to watch it, I just move on to the next video. But if it's somebody that I really enjoy watching and I see something, that I think maybe hinders people watching them or something, I'll definitely speak up and say something. But I know you, Erin, you've gotten some other interesting, criticisms and stuff. And how do you deal with it?
Some of it, yeah, some of it I ignore. I have one person that I have had to block. Um, I have a general rule. If I say it about myself, I can't get mad at somebody saying it about me as well. So similar to you, I talk fast. And when I get really excited about something, I talk really fast. One of the main criticisms that I get from my students, they're like, "You talk too fast." I'm like, "You listen too slow." That's, you know, so, but if it's, like I got, yeah, so I will admit, I'm chatty. I have squirrel moments. So if somebody goes, "You really need to stay on topic. You go off on squirrel moments too much." I'm like, "Yeah, legitimate. I say that about myself. You're allowed to say that about me as well." If it is something, and I think you said it, like, there's a difference between, does it make you think and go, "Oh, okay." Like, I had music in one of my videos one time, and, like, this video has, like, 30%, it only has, like, a 70% like rate, like, 30% are thumbs down. And one person actually, had the balls to say, "The music is really loud and really distracting in this. Maybe for the next video, if you use it again, either cut it out or try to turn it down some." And that comment, it was phrased very nicely. It wasn't just like, "Oh my god, the music you used was stupid." Right? That's an opinion. That's not constructive criticism. But it was, "Here's what I'm pointing out. Here is why I am finding it to be not something that is appealing. And here is a possible solution to how you can maybe rectify this going forward." Combining that with having 30%, 30% with a thumbs down. Putting those 2 together, or all 3 together, I'm like, "Yeah, I haven't used music since." Because I haven't been able to figure that out. I always have 2 dislikes on all of my videos immediately, like, almost immediately after they go live. And I have one person that, sends me personal emails from a changing email address all the time, telling me, just how much, they dislike, and I have sometimes responded back quite snarkily and bluntly, to these individuals. So I'm sorry if you do not, like, the last one was because I giggled when I was talking about our notes, and sometimes in our notes, some of them start with BJ. So, I giggle whenever I see a BJ note, and person, took offense to it. And my response back to her in email was, "I'm sorry if you're offended by the fact that I give my husband blowjobs." Said it clearly was a joke because I said it was for Valentine's Day, and everybody knows that steak and blowjob day is the month after in March. I actually haven't heard back from that person since. And it's like that kind of a thing. That's it. I guess I come down to intent. What
Right.
is a person's intent with what they are doing and with what they are saying? Are they intending to be malicious, or are they, yeah, and, anybody who has met me offline or chatted with me offline is not going to question like any of this. I work in academia. I have students, and you are not, actually, I can't say that to you. You work in law enforcement. So politicians and
Mhm.
law enforcement probably the get like a higher level of criticism, but there I have been called everything from A to Z in by students, both in teaching evaluations, to my face, all of that. And so it's some of it I take with a grain of salt, but if you're intentionally being mean, that's also why I say that if you want to criticize me, and again, don't present an opinion as fact. If you have a criticism, then also offer a solution, and don't have that
Right.
solution be, If it were me, I would." Well, no, then that's, you're just trying to make somebody to be just like you. And instead, it's, have you considered this, and such with it. The only rules I have are, you do not insult my dogs, and you do not insult my husband. I don't insult my husband. I never insult my husband. I don't say I'll make jokes about him. Yes, he likes beer. Guess what? That's a fact. You meet Gary, Gary likes beer. Gary is sarcastic as anything as well. But I had one person say that, clearly your husband is jealous of you, and that's why he cuts you off and treats you this way and such. The first, I had to correct them on their incorrect use of jealousy. What they were talking about is envy. That was the topic of my dissertation, got me a PhD. However,
Right.
here actually are the reasons why, why he is not. And then she went into, well, and she like it was an I phrase all of the time. And when I hear a person saying I, it means that they've made it about them and actually not trying to be beneficial to you. I make simple jokes about my husband, but I never speak negatively about him because if I speak negatively about him, that means I've given other people permission to as well. Yes, I call my dog a derp. Turbo is a derp. I love him to death. Nobody will question that I love my dogs, but Turbo's a derp. So if somebody else says, you know what, your dog really is derpy, I'm like, yeah, I know. I say that. But if somebody says, that your dog shouldn't have even been put up for adoption from the rescue, they should have just tossed him in a river, I'm going to come after you on that one, right? Because that's mean. And
Right.
so I think differentiating those and with the likes and the dislikes, there are, some of it is bots. And some of it is just there are some people out there that don't like me, and if they don't want to say why, if you want to come to my channel just for the purpose of doing that, or if you want to send me emails just for the purpose of doing that, or send me DMs just for the purpose of doing that, that's fine. Sometimes I'll play the game, other times I'm just like, not, I'm not going to bother wasting my time, my cognitive space, and my emotions. It's the easiest way to give up your power. And then I also think that it can really lead almost like to a mean person mentality as well. If you're constantly saying, like I don't call people who give me a dislike haters because I
No.
don't know. I don't know what it is behind. I don't know who it is. And YouTube doesn't show them anymore anyway, so the only that person that sees them is me. I actually think YouTube making like hiding the dislikes actually has actually made things worse, and that people internalize it a lot more because now you're the only person that sees it, and the only way other people are going to know is if you tell them. And you sometimes see when people are talking about, well, I got this piece of constructive criticism, or this person told me that I talk too fast, or this person, just called me a stupid yank, right? I get called a yank all the time. That's an insult. In Australia, you get called a seppo. Seppo rhymes with septic. Septic is a toilet, right? And so, and yank rhymes with tank, so for, septic tank. But if I start I notice that there's a tendency that sometimes when people start talking about these things, and I do like that this has state of civil discourse as well. It's real quick that people usually jump on about, oh, they're so pathetic. It's something about their life. We don't know anything. We don't know anything about these individuals. We can't make judgments on things that we don't know. And so I'm just not going to play the game in that sense. But if you're mean, don't get surprised if you see some of my friends, come in and make comments. I had that on one, and then she kept going on about Gary, and Gary came in, and Gary responded to her, and then I had to delete the entire thread because he he can be brutal in his honesty, towards people. So it's you pick and choose, and some of it, I leave there. If it's a piece of constructive criticism, I've actually pinned people's constructive criticism as a top comment on
Yeah.
my
No,
videos
it's
before.
something
As a
constructive. Like,
reminder as a reminder to me that, I need to remember this, and then also showing that I'm a big girl. I got fireproof pants.
well, and one thing that I
I don't know
dislike, and
skirt.
you'll see it. You'll see it. I mean, it happens with me in my career all the time too, but you'll see it where people are like, "Well, if you don't like it, don't put yourself out there because if you put yourself out there, this is what people do." And I'm like, "No, people don't deserve hate or discontent or whatever just because they choose to share stuff about their life, whether it's YouTube,
Yeah,
whether it's whatever." It's kind of like me and my career. You know what I mean? Like, the no matter what your views are, there are good and there are bad in every single career, out there, but it's like just because I chose to go into law enforcement doesn't mean that I deserve to be treated like a lesser human, or it doesn't mean that I deserve to be shot at, right? Because I'm a cop, things like that. And it's the same thing with the social media. Just because you're a YouTuber or you're a TikToker or you do whatever, it doesn't mean that it's, their free will to, just hate on you for anything. And I have to make a comment on what Chris said really quick. Chris,
That's what I
she
was
had
thinking.
said people just dislike her videos, that she doesn't get anything. But Chris also just had an Instagram. Was it an Instagram, Chris? About where she's just hoping that people will watch her video right after she spent 6 hours editing her video. And Chris, I saw that. I loved it, just so you know. So I had to say that. And we've got a lot of people that have come in that we haven't seen or haven't said hello. So hello to everybody new. And I
Yeah, we've
know
had
Erin
Chris and
before.
Leroy.
Yeah. And we've
Yeah.
had other people coming in, so thank you. And I know that you rescheduled your meeting that you had, but I don't know if you rescheduled it for right now because you said you had to stay at an hour, and we're at an hour.
No, I rescheduled it for later on this Arvo.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, um, I confused my time zones and I double scheduled a meeting. But here's the thing. And just to pick up on Chris, on your comment of anyone that dislikes you but doesn't tell you why. I think that's one of the challenges that we have in YouTube is that we how we differentiate ourselves from our content. And so I that's one of the things that I ask is is it something about me that they do not like, or is it something about my content? So for the one where I got a lot of dislikes, it was about my content. It was about the level of music that I had. Now for the person that sends me emails, that person it's straight attacking me. 100%. And I guess that's the other thing that I try to step back and take into account of, okay, is this something about me, or is this something about content that is in my video? And a lot of times I can actually find different areas of content where I'm like, yeah, maybe that wasn't that great. And as I said, I've got a very, very honest husband. And so I'll run something by him and I'll show him something and he'll just be like, eh. He's like, yeah, no, probably. And I can tell, just by looking at him. And I think that's maybe one of the things that we don't talk about as content creators, that we don't talk about them as much. I would say, really, I don't think honestly that you or I have ever, we've mentioned things that we've stuffed up in videos before. And I know that if I were to ask you to give me an honest review or an honest critique of any of my content, that you would. Um, but I don't think that there's a lot of that, and maybe there is, and I just don't know of of finding that out. We tend to, because going back to some of that that you said, it's will you put yourself out there? And that's where I say, if it's targeted directly at me, no, I don't have to tolerate that, not at all, not for a minute. Blessed, blocked, gone, bye. But if it is something that is, maybe more legitimate, and it could be that, some people, you can't please all the people all the time, but you can piss everybody off at once. I've learned that one in my, in my lifetime. And so I think that needs to be also I think maybe a bigger discussion, particularly in niche environments. I think with us, because we usually just show our hands when there's not a face behind it, it also makes it easier to do. It's a lot easier to attack somebody that you do not know what they look like, or that you're not looking them in the eye. And then if you only see their hands, because it is, how much of your personality does come through just through your voice, and how much of your personality comes through like when they actually, see, when you're talking. I mean, I can teach, I can say I love spreadsheets until the cows come home in my videos. I love spreadsheets. Like I love a spreadsheet. I love numbers. I love statistics. I am a numbers nerd. But you don't see any of that because I don't show my face, in my videos, and people are probably, oh, she's just saying that she likes numbers. She really doesn't. No, I love numbers. I have a book. It's literally called Show Me the Numbers. Stephen Few. He worked with Gallup organization. It's great. It's all about data visualization. And so then what are some things that we can do in terms of having discussions, and what is, I guess, kind of what is, what is the norm? What is something that we're likely to run into? And then how do we best go about so that you're not focusing on that one person, you're focusing on the 1472 other people. And that's where that for me, that's where that shift comes in, because it's never going to change. Yeah, keyboard commandos, you know keyboard commandos have been around since the internet started as well. And but that's the other thing that I think, Hugo says, everyone isn't going to like you, but more people will like you, and there are still more people out there that haven't had the pleasure of knowing you yet. And I think the other thing is also, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. So if you do have one particular individual, a one-off, fine. A couple of times, fine. And I follow a different, I guess, a different motto than some people. A lot of people say, oh, treat other people the way that you want to be treated. I will do that until you show me who you are. Once you show me who you are, I'm going to treat you the way that you have shown me you want to be treated. And the way you have shown me the way you want to be treated is how I have seen you treat other people. And I will no longer give you the benefit of the doubt, because you wouldn't be treating other people that way if you weren't okay with people doing that right back to you. And that's why I have fun in emails, um, for it. It's I don't always take the higher road.
I don't know anybody
I'm
that does
you know
all the time. I mean, really, there are times.
it's
And of
hard.
course, in my career
It's
and
hard to
stuff
do.
like that, it's like, for me, it's like you treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect back. That's all I ask. And of course, like I said, in
Mhm.
my career and even in your career being, with students and stuff like that, that, mistreat you and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not okay. That's not acceptable. And so you've just got to, you know what I mean? You've got to figure a way out that you can do it. Like me, I've got to figure a way out that I can do it. And I generally get really good interactions from most public and most inmates and people that I
Yeah.
deal with. The negative are few and far between, and you just have to remember that through there. And I had something else I wanted to ask you, and now I forgot. Oh, you had a question, and I don't want us to forget it because somebody asked a question.
Oh, it's an easy one. I can answer it for both of us.
Well, go ahead, tell us.
Okay, I will give the answer and you tell me the question. How's that?
Okay, let's do it.
Chai latte and chai latte on soy.
What's your favorite drink? Hot beverage?
What's your go-to coffee drink?
You're like, I know the answer
I
for both of us.
I knew it right away. I'm like, she's never mentioned taking hers on soy though. I take mine on soy.
No. And so everybody knows, who did you get the question from?
That was from Tay Tay. Tato over at Taylor Louise Budgets, my
She
Aussie mate.
claims she's working on a Monday, since she's a teacher or
I'm
something.
teachers. I mean, I'm an educator too. Do you see me at work today?
Well, you were supposed to be in a meeting with your boss.
Shh. Something came up. I had to reschedule. We were talking
Something
about
real.
his workload for next year anyways. That's not fun. Who wants to hear about what I'm gonna be teaching and how many students, and is it gonna be first semester or second semester? Let's talk about money.
Right. All right. So I have to put this
How many
comment up here. I have to put that one up there right there because I forgot we could do that. Sorry, you guys. We haven't
Yep.
done live in a long time, and I forgot I could put them up there. So Leroy, I would like to see your wife in your videos so we can actually ask her questions. Let's see. Let's ask her and see what she has to say about that.
Yeah. I think I'm a saint, my halo might be cracked and tarnished and held up by my horns, but it's there, for the most part. But it is, like I said, it is a challenge. And you were mentioning how because the negative stands out, and we know that
Yep.
negative words, negative experiences are 7 times more powerful than a positive, which is why they say that you need 7 positive to offset 1 negative. Either, word or phrase or anything that happens in a day. This is why they say that, we should be praising our children, more and criticizing them less or saying negative things to them less because you can still be you can be critical in a positive way. And nobody, people are not always going to agree with what you do with your money, how you spend your money. The number of times, like, do you really need to have so many cars? No. But do I have
But
fun
I
with my
want
cars?
to.
Do my cars contribute to my experiences? Absolutely. And my cars are all paid for in full. All of our bikes are paid for in full. So that is where we have chosen, to put our money. Hey, Shalise, welcome. Our investy bestie here. Um, but it's, and understanding that everybody is going to have different goals. Everybody is going to have different ways to do things. Everybody's priorities are going to change at any given time as well. And somebody's goal, and you can have multiple goals and they can shift in priority, because that's one of the other things that I sometimes hear being said. And I know that I've thought it myself, and it's like, oh well, if you really prioritize that, that's what you would be focusing on. And then it's like, well, that might have been the priority last month, but then this month it's a different priority. And then the next month it's a different, like, those top 3 are constantly, like, they're always going to be there, but they're going to be shifting. And that's going to shift where the focus is. And then that goes back to the, well, if I were you, or if I had, and I was like, well, you're not and you don't. So, because by all means, you come and you take my entire life. You don't just get to have my money. You have to have all of my experiences,
Yes.
everything. You get the good and the bad. And then you can do what you want to do with it, which means you get to go to my job. You get to work with my colleagues. Oh, lucky you. Yeah, you get to live in a really great place. You get to go see my doctors. You get to handle all of, all of that. And I think that's one of the other things is you can't just say, you can't just say, oh well, if I were in your shoes, you can't just be in my shoes. You actually have to live my life, whether I have shoes on or not. And I think if we do more of that and understand more of that, because how is it harming me? How is my life disrupted because you went on vacation while you're paying off debt?
It's not, but everybody thinks it just is the worst thing. That's one of the things I hear the most is, why are you taking vacations while you're paying off debt? I can tell you why I'm taking vacations, because tomorrow is not promised. I just had somebody that was several years younger than me, 8 years younger than me, mother of a coworker I used to have. She just passed away in her sleep at 38, and they don't, obviously they're still investigating it. So tomorrow is not promised. And now that doesn't mean that I just nilly willy go out and, make the dollars rain, but at the same time, I am
Oh
not
no, I've
going.
seen those stack of ones you have when you go on vacation.
I'm like, what do we need all these ones for? Oh, I got some ones. I got some ones right here. There we go. I made it rain. But people they get so stuck on that there's only one way to do things. And that's not
Yeah.
true, right? You've got to live your life the way you want to. And it's like we just took on a little bit more debt for Home Depot, right? Because I got the furniture for the deck, and then we also got some stuff to do some remodeling in the house. It's not a very large debt, but it still added more debt. And you know what I mean? You have to do what, works for your life. And that's the most
Yeah.
important thing. And that's what's great about everybody's journey is you can see something that maybe wasn't even something you thought you wanted to do in your journey, and somebody can inspire you to do more things. And for me, experiences truly for me are more important than things. Like I
Yeah.
take my time traveling, like the trip that we just took to Mexico, we were with, 18 of us, friends, mostly family, and my aunt was supposed to be there with us. And unfortunately, she's not because cancer sucks and she just got diagnosed and is going through chemo, right? But she also is still living her life. She didn't go to Mexico because she couldn't, but it happens, right? And she was living her life before that. And so that's the thing, is remember, you've got to live your life for yourself and not worry about what other people say. And we are going to Australia, dang it. Now my niece thinks, you guys know, she thinks I need to go to Hawaii too. She told me that I need to come see her in Hawaii in January.
It's on the way. It'll break up the flight.
I don't know if I could do it at the same
It's only 10 hours. It's only 10 hours
Right?
from Hawaii to
Go that way.
Australia, where it's like 13 to 14 hours. And trust
Right.
me, those that difference makes that reduction makes a difference. No, there's been like, speaking on that and like experiences. So I've been reading this book. It's called How to Die with Zero. And it's all about how do you time things, how do you time things out? And there's a great quote. Let me see if I can find it. Who did I had just sent it to somebody.
And we're talking about
Oh,
Shannon over here in the comments. It cracks me up. They're just talking about Shannon, even texts loud, and she yells at everybody, and it's funny. We love you,
dude,
Shannon.
Shannon scares me even. I'm not I, I am not even, yeah. Oh, I'm seeing if I can find.
It's the hardest thing to find when you need to find it.
I know. And it was with
So while you're looking, I'll let everybody know. We went scuba diving when we went to Mexico, of course, and it was absolutely amazing. We did add a third dive. We'd only booked two, but I decided to add a third dive, and it was so beautiful. And if you are not a scuba diver, but you've been interested in doing it, do it. Because I didn't start scuba diving until I was 45. And this video is not sponsored by anybody involved in scuba diving. Dang it.
oh,
That's
wouldn't it
that.
be nice if Patty would?
Aaron, that's where the
Here
money
it is.
is. You gotta get sponsors.
I know. People are gonna like, I sponsor you to shut up. So
Right.
so like I said, it's the book is called How to Die with Zero. I'm actually gonna do a book review of it at some point, but one of the quotes that he has in it is, just realize that time moves only in one direction and that it sweeps away opportunities for certain experiences forever. You can't go
Yeah.
back. Like, you can't go back. You cannot get time back. You cannot get moments back or anything. And I think, like I said, it's a lot of times people don't the illusion of being invincible or the illusion of immortality kind of, takes over. That's why I said it's, with all the way back to that first question about, what to do in retirement. Well, easy things. I want to do easy things in retirement because my body's not going to be able to handle the hard things. I want to do the harder things now while I can, because I don't know what I'll be able to. And this was another quote that I saw. And this is from, it's called Four Pillar Freedom. And this one I learned on Family Finance. She's a finance blogger here in Australia, but theirs was overrated metric: how fast you're able to reach financial independence. Underrated metric: how enjoyable your journey is on the way to financial independence.
I like that.
What's the point? I mean, yeah, I'm very, very thankful. Bye, Leroy. Sorry, I always say Leroy. It's Leroy. Um, I I love that. I love that we have paid off our debt. I love that we got our student loan debts paid off. But man, there's a lot of things I wish I had done with some of that. In hindsight, hindsight is always 2020.
2020.
But you can't take it with you, which is why, like, we're doing a heck of a lot more, a heck of a lot more now than we did before. We're getting paid a heck of a lot more. So why should you have to wait until, I'm dead or we're dead? Marcus over at Debt Free Dad had a really good live yesterday, actually. And he was talking about generation, breaking curses for generational brokenness, generational wealth, etc. And I believe it was Franklin that he was talking about, in that you're saving to pass something on to your grandchildren, not saving to pass on to your children. Because you're hopefully doing everything so that your children are learning from you and they're going to be okay. It's going to be then your grandchildren that are next going to be carrying that forward. And it's his lives are he does his lives now. They're Saturday and Sunday mornings for me. I think they're Friday and Saturday nights. And I just absolutely love his spin on things as well, because he has that, that legal, that legal mindset, but he finds just some of the most random stuff. And then he brings up a lot of the legal aspects of things. And so we're talking about charitable trust and public trust and such like that. So in like insuring all of that, talking about wills, talking about estate planning. I've never talked about it on my channel. I've had questions about it where people have contacted me and they've asked, do I have money set away for when I die? And I'm, yeah, I have an entire fund set up to pay for like my cremation, for Gary and Peyton to be able to have at least a month off of work. Yes, the paperwork will come through for my life insurance and my superannuation and everything like that, but I don't want to have them worry about money while they're working through um all of the different paperwork. And flying back to the US from Australia on short notice is not. Oh, there's my daughter. I'm like the crazy aunt she's never met.
Right.
Hi, Julia. I've never met you. But flying back to the US is not inexpensive, and he's gonna have to go back to the US and take care of, things, there in a couple different states and such for me. So, but those are things that like really aren't talked about. And even in changing up, when, shifting from paying off debt to investing, and when I was meeting with different financial planners, financial advisors about, okay, well, how do I change up my investing strategy, knowing that there's a very high likelihood I'm not going to be the one that is going to be accessing this money, right? Because you're supposed to change your investing
Right.
strategy as you get older, as you shift from being riskier to more conservative. And hardly it's nobody could give me an answer. They're like, "Oh, well, you need to think about estate planning." I'm like, "I get estate planning. I'm not dead yet, though. So what do I do in terms of my investing strategy? What is an optimal investing strategy? Do I just go back to, as if I were in my early 20s and go as high risk as possible, because it's really not going to matter all that much if I gain, or what I gain versus lose, because it's all going to be passed on?" Um and it was, finally I ran into one of our he's a retired professor now. He's now an emeritus. So see, told you they never leave. And he's a curmudgeon. He is just the most cantankerous old man you will meet. You think grumpy old white finance person, and you are imagining Alan. Just whether you know it or not. And so I finally talked to him about it, and he goes, "That's the exact advice that I would have given to you. Go high risk. It's not going to matter." He goes, "You're good with numbers." He goes, "You know what you're doing." He goes, "You really should do a finance PhD." I was like, "No, not going, not going that far." But I love that, that there's starting to be more conversation, I guess, around things, particularly for passing forward of, but then also that we do everything for our kids usually, right? That's kind of what parenting is. It's always, you sacrifice for your kids, you lose sleep for your kids, you lose your weekends because you're chauffeuring them around all the time. You are a hockey mom. You
Oh
you
yeah.
know how much, the staring at the white lines. But I think there's so much more to it other than just those elements. And we want to make sure that we're not sacrificing the experiences for ourselves at, at that expense. I mean, yeah, you look back on the days, but I don't know many people who say, "Oh god, I am so glad that I was driving my son to a hockey tournament in the middle of winter instead of going to Cancun and working on my tan." Show me
Right.
somebody, show me somebody that, that does that, and it's finally starting to become more of a narrative that it's not just the destination, it's not just about getting there, it's about everything that is going along with it, and then how are we imparting that knowledge. And so, Shalice had mentioned Mommy Trader, splurge for an oceanfront suite, always get an oceanfront
Yep.
suite. Always, always the waves. There is no greater sound than the waves crashing on the ocean and the smell of salt in the air and the sound of seagulls as well. Aw, thanks, Chantel.
Thank you, Chantel. Tell your
My son
son
says
thank
that my son says that sometimes, to his friends when he thinks I can't hear him. But, yeah, it's what are your goals? What lessons do you, financial-wise, do you wanna pass down to Julia and your Peyton?
Right? Well,
Because for
we're
those of you, if you
now.
guys don't know, both Marlene and I, both of our sons' names are Peyton, but mine's older, so I was the original one, and she stole from me even though she didn't know me yet.
Totally. And it's spelled the same way too. And there's a lot of ways to
It
spell
is after
Peyton.
Peyton Manning.
Mhm.
Oh, there's a
No,
lot of
for
wrong ways, there's one right.
a lot of wrong ways. For Julia, I don't know if she's still on here. She stopped in and said hi. She was trying to call me because she's a poor, broke college student. And, she went on vacation with us. And then the extension in Texas, affected them. And, she waits tables and she hasn't worked yet. So she was calling me about that. But I was so proud because her boyfriend and her, they said they wanted to go. And I said, if you guys want to go, you need to save up. You know what I mean? Welcome to adulthood, right? And so they saved up and they paid for their own vacations. And now, don't get me wrong, I paid for a lot of stuff, but they paid for their vacation. And that's what I
Mm,
told him. I said, I'll pay for parking, I'll pay for gas. Like when we're eating together, because at the all inclusives, all your food's free, but we like to tip and we tip very well. And the staff, they, like we had the same waiter when we went to breakfast after I think day 2 or whatever. He would come and get us when he saw us come in to the buffet and the restaurant, and was so appreciative. And at the end, and like the maid would leave us extra stuff because we were tipping them every single day. And Julia says she's still here, but they had their tip money, they had that type of stuff. And I want her to be smart with her money but not miss out on the experiences either. And you can do both, like we were just talking about. And luckily she has very minimal student loans, you know, under $10,000, I believe, for student loans. So very minimal as far as student loans go. She did amazing buying her car, and she is cash based. She's got her own envelopes, you know what I mean? But she's still learning. She's 19, right? And, I didn't learn how to do this until a couple years ago, and I'm still learning, and I still overspend because, like, I still buy stuff that I shouldn't buy. But on vacation, we did really good. I am going to actually do a vacation budget video. I think I'm probably going to film it tomorrow, and talk about the importance of having extra just in case. Because, we had those 2 days that I paid for, all the food that wasn't planned, you know what I mean? And of course, we're in the middle of Dallas, like not in a great area where we could get a hotel at because all the hotels were sold out, and
yeah.
so we are getting food delivered, you know what I mean, which makes it so much more expensive when you do DoorDash and you do all of that kind of stuff. And you've just got to figure it out. And Chantel says we can get Julia set up with a buy me a coffee. No, no, no. She's doing okay. I think right now, because being gone on vacation, there's no paid vacation for her and her boyfriend. So not only are you spending that money, but
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not getting paid. And so there was that. But so she's doing amazing. Peyton, he's doing pretty good. He's talking about getting a second job, so that he can achieve what he wants, and he's wanting to buy himself some supercomputer. I don't know. He needs like 5
Mm,
grand. I said, "You better get another job."
gamer computer. He's going for a gamer computer. And
Yep.
that's actually a low price. Ask Shannon, because Shannon's husband
Oh, I
does
have no
gaming, and
doubt.
I know how much Peyton's put into his. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
my my gosh, the kid paid like almost like $450 for a freaking mouse.
right? Yeah. So that
I'm
stuff's
just like,
expensive.
what? But his money he saved up. I actually because we had to go and put something into his room, and I actually saw something in his room. I had a really proud mom moment.
Ha 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 ha. What is all
So I
that?
took it's his $5 and $10 bills that he hasn't spent.
Oh, look at that.
So I'm gonna count it up and see how much money he has that he has in there. But yeah, he's been saving that, and I'm proud of how organized he is because he's also been saving his coins. So
Ooh.
these are all $1 and $2 coins, and then he's got another one of the jars that's just like his silvers. So yeah, your kids are they are watching. um
No, and it's
and
awesome when
so
they do,
yeah,
and
I'm curious
I wish
because I
I
know
would
that
have
he
been
had
better with money as they were growing up, but, you have to learn and stuff has to change, and you have to come to that moment when you figure it out. That's
yeah.
all I can say.
Well, and the thing is though is that like you're still at least you're imparting all of that knowledge onto them now. They're still young enough. Like uh hey Ronnie.
Hi, Ronnie.
Peyton is he's automatically investing every week. So he's automatically set up. It's automatically withdrawn. And then when he hits a certain threshold, it automatically diversifies his portfolio. He's saving up for a car as well. So he's decided that he doesn't want to be part of the family anymore and doesn't want to have a Jeep. Um,
Oh,
it's a
oh
Tesla.
no.
I know. I'm like, you are not my child. But I mean, he's had this car since he got his license at 18. Because here you get your learner's license at 17, but you have to be on it for an entire year before you can go for your provisional, plus all of the hours of driving and everything that you need to have. Um, yeah,
Hi, Chris.
that change adds up. As well. Bye, Chris. I love
Oh,
Chris's lives too.
there's
Her lives
there's
are
my
so great.
there's my sister-in-law too. I didn't even see her come in. 307 Design Studio. It took Shannon saying hello, name twin, before I saw that she was in here. Hello, Shannon. And
I
yeah,
just seen
Julia
the
definitely saved up. They saved up so they could get their new apartment. And yeah, that's the other thing they did while saving up for vacation. They moved out of their parents' house. So amazing.
yeah. And it's all the different little things. So like Peyton never had an allowance growing up. Like he had chores and everything, and Gary had a pretty firm belief that your chores are because you're part of this family and you will contribute to the household, and that is how you contribute. Which is why he now, I mean, I don't advertise it and such all the time. He pays rent. He purchases groceries. Okay, I like to go in and do his laundry because I want it done right, and I actually want it put away. But
You
but
don't want to
yeah,
see Mark
because
Payton's laundry. He does his own
huh?
laundry and all goes in one. My Peyton's laundry all
Gary
goes
does
in one.
Gary does his own laundry. I won't do Gary's laundry. I will make his lunches, but I won't do his laundry. And he's not allowed to do my laundry. I do my own. I do my own. He's not allowed to touch my clothes. When they yeah, when they need to
Don't
be
stop.
they need to be washed. No, it just yeah. But he never. But what we did do when we moved here, because very different systems in that we don't have like they don't have free meals at schools and cafeterias and such. Everything like they don't even have cafeterias. They just have the tuck shop. And because everything is open, everything is outdoors. It might be different in New South Wales and Victoria and such where it gets colder, but not here. Um, and so what that's when we actually started giving him money was he got a weekly spending food amount, and that was what he used for he could use it on whatever he wanted, and he learned after about the first month that if he spends it all on stupid stuff on the first couple of days, he's not gonna be eating very much for the
Oh,
rest of the week.
I see.
Coming.
I see a doggy.
Yeah, this is the derpy one. That's for Bo. Um, and so, yeah, so, and then he learned from there. Here comes Torky. There, Torque turns around.
Because I don't want to.
But yeah, and then he started learning that he could instead of buying a soda at school, he could actually just go and buy a 12 pack at the grocery store for cheaper
Wow. Yep.
figure, and that would last him longer. And so now he knows how to batch cook. He has no problem. They run the place. Yeah, so he'll go and, like, he'll make a big old thing of, like, tuna casserole and then, egg, breakfast burritos and such like that, and that's what he takes his food into work because he started realizing how much he was spending at the little corner store, even though he likes going there because the ladies love him and they give him extra cookies. So,
Yes,
but
it
like
makes a big difference.
all these things that I nagged on him about for years and years and years, and then he just finally started doing it on his own, which was that was nice to see. I mean, he's 24, he's going to be 25, and he's investing, has no debt, and has a healthy amount of savings. And then what he gives us in rent, we're just putting off to the side like we did the first time. So then when he moves out, that'll help to cover either his bond and such, or if it goes towards a house or something, then that'll go towards a house deposit for him. So,
Yeah. Well, and
but
yeah,
yeah,
like
no,
Victoria
free,
brought
yeah,
up.
free breakfast, free lunch. That does not exist in Australia. We don't even have free buses. Students, they have a concession card, but if they take the bus or the train or anything like that, they're still paying for it. We don't have, other than the private schools have bus transport, but not
And
for
we know that's
students.
not
It's
free because, private schools are expensive, as you were talking about. And what Victoria's talking
yes.
about is, since COVID had hit, all students in the United States were getting free lunches and breakfasts and everything. And they're not doing that this year. And so, like
Mm,
she said,
yeah.
that's another thing to add to your budget, to groceries and stuff like that. And Peyton, he knows the same thing. I'm like, this is how much money you get. You know what I mean? There's also free groceries at the house that if you pack yourself a lunch, then you have that extra money as well. But that takes extra. But yes. So, yeah, is it just lunch they cut out for you guys, Victoria? I thought it was no free anything at all. And I have this stupid cough. But it has been about an hour and 40 minutes, everybody. And I need to go cook dinner.
It's because you
So
talk too much.
I know I do talk too much. I talk so much. And if you guys have an idea of a live that you would like to Erin and I to see, send us a message, send us a message. Let us know if there's something you'd like to hear us talk about. And it looks like Lori is asking you about taxes. And also Shannon asked you about your hair color earlier when you were talking. She asked if you
Oh, what
colored your
about?
hair.
Oh,
She asked
yeah, I colored my hair. It's not blonde anymore. So,
And that's awesome, Chantel, that California still gets free lunch. And I'm assuming that's coming from California money instead of federal money, but that's still cool. and Julia's saying bye. So let us know, send us a message on Instagram, whatever. And yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit hangry here. Thank you guys for joining us for our, I don't know, discussion, our chat. We did talk
It's
about
just
a lot of different things.
just a catch. It was just a catch up. That's
It
this
was
is what
just
it would be. This is what it was easier than texting each other for like an hour and a half because
and
that's
then
normally what we're doing.
and we send each other voice messages back and forth on Instagram, and they have to be a minute or
Yeah.
less. So if you have a long story to tell, it takes a lot of messages.
Yeah. But you actually got to see my facial reaction to one of your stories because that's usually how it is when I'm listening to it, and I'm just going,
You know, that's why I
"It's
saved the poop story for the live. I had to save the poop story for the live. You're welcome, everybody that got to listen to the poop story. All
Hey,
right,
you know
everybody.
what?
Thank
People don't get as mad about poo as they do about blowjobs, so, hey, I think you're safe."
they're probably going to flag us. We're talking about blowjobs, the C word, and poo. All right, everybody.
It was in
We will
context.
see. I
It's
know.
not like it was a how you or something.
We will see you guys again. I don't know when, but we'll do another live. We'll try to make it not as
We have
long.
to we have to see if we do them more frequently, they won't be as long because we need to
Right.
start Australianizing them. We need to start getting you prepared for Australia.
I know. I
So
know.
you're
We got
gonna
to
need
get
to
that
have
done.
monthly lessons, I think.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
night. And as always, remember to keep on smiling. Bye, everybody.
Bye.